Welcome to Mystic Realms Recap. Please like, share, and subscribe. Enjoy today's episode.
Chen Beiyuan's plan to ascend to heaven was still not complete, even after Beiyuan succeeded in taking over, regaining power, and becoming the new saintess of the Gu clan. Still, the last step is missing. That last step was the final attitude of the Emperor Gu in the Holy Temple. From the beginning to the end, he laid out the strategy of ascending to the sky in the entire southern border. His fundamental purpose was to take this supremely powerful Emperor Gu under his command and use it for him. In comparison, the entire southern Xinjiang territory is insignificant. The power that can be used for oneself is fundamental. With power, everything else will fall into place. And even a pig can become a sperm after living for hundreds of years. What's more, it's an Emperor Gu that has lived for who knows how long. It's easy to get away. It's hard to close your heart. If you don't accept his will, as long as the Emperor Gu chooses to be destroyed, even Beiyuan will have difficulty in using the real combat power. Fortunately, for various reasons, Emperor Gu does not seem to reject Chen Beiyuan's existence. Ever since, ascend to heaven. Done. Inside the Holy Temple, descendants of Gu Emperor, follow the ancient contract. I will give you powerful power, and as a price, you will serve my needs with your life. If you can step into the Emperor realm and become the new Gu Empress, you will be qualified to become my second master. Now you will have the power of extreme cold that can freeze time and space. It was accompanied by a huge dragon roar. The eyes of the huge ice dragon head that bowed its head slightly seemed to flash with a flash of intelligence, as if it had made a decision, and suddenly turned into an illusory stream of light and rushed directly into Beiyuan's body. Boom. As the power of extreme cold spread, the hair on Beiyuan's body was gradually covered with snow white, and her whole body exuded a terrifying aura of extreme cold. Endless ice condensed and rotated around her, emitting a dazzling light, making her as dazzling as an ice and snow fairy. As Emperor Gu merged with the host for the first time, her cultivation suddenly began to skyrocket. In an instant, he stepped from the peak of quasi-emperor to the peak of emperor level, breaking into the realm of the strongest. Step. Ascend to heaven. Ding! It has been detected that the fifth lucky heroine in Beiyuan is undergoing drastic changes. She is merging her blood with the rank 8 most powerful Emperor Gu, Xianbing Dragon Soul Gu, and has initially entered the transcendent level powerful sequence in this world. My own daughter, the main luck starts to soar. Ding! Luck divine ability. Life and death depend on each other, now taking effect. Ding! Congratulations to the host and the heroine of luck and Beiyuan for their coexisting Emperor Gu, which has the effect of life and death dependence, and each other's life blood bars are superimposed on each other. Accompanied by a series of system prompts, the sound suddenly sounded. Chen Beiyuan suddenly felt that he was instantly connected to a powerful being containing terrifying vitality. At this moment, he can directly transfer all the damage he has received at any time, and can even use it to substitute death. The life and death of this mysterious Emperor Gu in southern Xinjiang was forcibly tied to his body in an instant. This almost caused the blood bar on Chen Beiyuan's head to skyrocket dozens of times, hundreds of times. At this moment, Chen Beiyuan's survival ability has almost reached a terrifying level. What a terrifying vitality. It is worthy of the legendary Emperor Gu. I'm afraid that even the most powerful beasts of the same level don't have such a terrifying health bar. They are simply monsters among monsters. Now I almost share the health bar with Emperor Gu. Even if I stand still and am attacked by ordinary powerful people, I am almost unbeatable. Chen Beiyuan's body shook, and he immediately felt the terrible benefits contained in it. Even the previous life and death with the 3 lucky heroines by Ruowei, Jiang Yanhua, and Leng Ruobing did not benefit as much as they did now. Ascend to heaven. But it wasn't just Beiyuan who reached the sky in one step. Also, he is the destined villain. The expression of the great elder, who was possessed by the Emperor Gu, changed, and he obviously noticed something. He looked sharply at his wrist and saw an illusory red rope appearing at some point. Luck divine ability. You actually have luck divine ability. Emperor Gu, Woman's eyes trembled slightly. After years of experience, she obviously knows the existence of luck divine ability. This is known as one of the most mysterious and powerful divine abilities. Its rarity is even higher than the time-type divine ability. At this moment, she suddenly realized that she was forcibly tied to the pirate ship. She thought she just signed a contract at random, but it turned out that the contract was double. There is also a contract to sell oneself. She sold herself. The great elder couldn't hold back for a moment. He no longer had the calmness he had just now. He yelled at the innocent-looking dead kid in front of him. "You despicable and shameless devil kid." Facing the Emperor Gu's scolding, Chen Beiyuan seemed very calm. He went in with his left ear and out with his right ear, pretending that he didn't hear anything. However, at this moment, when he was marveling at the domineering power of luck divine ability, dependence on life and death, he suddenly seemed to think of something. Any injury can be transferred, so what if I hurt myself? I saw that he blinked, stretched out his little hand curiously, and scratched his chest hard. The great elder, who was cursing, suddenly looked stiff. Um. A special painful groan suddenly resounded in front of me and in the temple. Southern Xinjiang, the land of Baiwa. A slightly embarrassed and tattered old man in white clothes suddenly appeared in a swamp forest, breathing heavily. Even the beard on his chin had only a few strands left, and the rest were burnt black. This person is surprisingly the master of Heavenly Secrets Pavilion, who has repeatedly plotted against the Chun family before and is known as the most mysterious Taoist in the Donghua Empire. However, at this moment, he no longer had the immortal spirit he had before, but was in an extremely embarrassed state. It's weird what's going on. The old Taoist is protected by heaven. It should be blessed by good luck. How come he encounters accidents one after another? First, a meteorite fell from the sky and hit Lao Dao, causing him to deviate from his original trajectory. I wanted to break the meteorite into pieces, but I vented my anger. But it turned out that there was a terrifying and unkillable Emperor Beast lodged in the meteorite. Every time the terrifying Emperor Beast is killed, it will be resurrected again, and its strength will skyrocket. The old Taoist was almost chased by the terrifying and unkillable Emperor Beast. He had no way to go to heaven and no way to enter the earth. Finally, he relied on the secret method of heaven to escape into the gate of heaven and teleport at will to avoid its pursuit. Thinking of the terrifying Emperor Beast that was almost unkillable, even though the white-clothed old Taoist had escaped from the tiger's mouth at this moment, he was still frightened and his Taoist heart was a little unstable. Since he started practicing Taoism, he has never encountered such a terrifying creature. It was simply a killing monster born for battle. When the terrifying Emperor Beast hidden in the meteorite first appeared, it was not very powerful. It was only at the beginning of the Emperor level. It also had many weaknesses such as slow speed, weak defense, fear of light, etc. With so many weaknesses, it is not an exaggeration to say that the mysterious Emperor Beast in this meteorite is the weakest Emperor-level beast. Even some of the top prodigy who are at the peak of the War Emperor may be able to defeat them. For the old man in white, the Emperor level's pinnacle expert, it was extremely simple. It was like pinching a soft persimmon and killing it with just a few tricks. However, this is just the beginning of the nightmare. In less than a few breaths, the slain terrifying Emperor Beast was resurrected again. Its realm skyrocketed from the beginning of the Emperor level to the intermediate level of the Emperor level. A strong carapace began to grow on its body, and its slow speed also disappeared. Now, it's the old man in white's turn to sit on the wax. I don't know if it was because the old man in white smashed the meteorite where the terrifying Emperor Beast was hiding, which caused the opponent to almost regard it as a target and pursue it. However, after being killed several times in a row, the terrifying Emperor Beast's combat power soared directly to the level of a half-powerful man, and its combat power reached an extremely terrifying level. Even the old Taoist in white went from killing easily at the beginning to escaping in embarrassment later. Now it was his turn to change his form offensively and defensively. The white-clothed old Taoist seriously doubted that even if he could continue to kill it, he was afraid that the terrifying Emperor Beast might enter the realm of the strongest. This is not a creature that should exist in this world at all. Such a bizarre and terrifying existence can only be born outside the territory. Could it be that those entities outside the territory are starting to make moves and start testing and making moves? That shouldn't be the case. The 10,000 years catastrophe has not officially started yet, and the seal of the realm has not yet begun to shake. Could it be that something unexpected happened, causing the 10,000 years catastrophe to begin in advance, and the mythical is about to begin? Complex. The old man in white turned pale as he realized something. He subconsciously wanted to divine the secrets and get a glimpse of the truth. But he didn't notice that the fate above his head that had been entangled by bad luck emitted a smell of decay, which instantly interfered with his calculations, causing a violent backlash. Puff! A mouthful of black blood mixed with golden light spurted out from his mouth. The face of the old man in white became decayed. His face was as golden as paper, his eyes became cloudy, and his long, pale hair began to wither and gray, as if he had lost his vitality. His turbid eyes stared blankly at the ground, and his hands couldn't stop shaking. This time the secret backlash took away his 20 years of lifespan. This undoubtedly made things worse for him, who already had little lifespan. Since the Imperial Capital War, he has been failing in deducing secrets one after another. This is something he has never encountered before. This is undoubtedly a huge blow to the white-clothed Taoist who has always been able to spy on the secrets of luck and play with the entire world at his fingertips. Is it possible that the old Taoist has been cursed? The old man in white suddenly raised his head and looked at the top of his head, as if to peek at his own luck. However, he only saw a void. Those who watch luck can only look at the luck of others, but not themselves. He can see the lives of others, but he cannot see his own. In an instant, this old man in white who had always played with the fate of others and had put the entire Chen family in danger of destruction several times hesitated and almost lost his balance and fell to the ground. After practicing Taoism for hundreds of years, the old Taoist has a clear conscience. He always does good things to others, creates good causes, and gets good results. Even if there are some small evils, there are also great good deeds. Good and evil can cancel each other out, and the merits and demerits can offset each other. You heaven, why did you mislead me? At this time, he was no longer the master of Heavenly Secrets Pavilion who was regarded as a guest by the sovereign clan family, with aloof status and celestial spirit. He was like an old man with declining energy and blood and wrinkles on his face. But after many years of practicing Taoism, my mentality is always depressed, but I still recover quickly and look around. This is southern Xinjiang? I didn't expect the old Taoist to come here. However, this is a great place away from the power center of the empire. This time I escaped from the whirlpool of imperial power and avoided the terrifying imperial beast. I can cultivate here for a period of time and wait for the opportunity to wait for the catastrophe to come. Just when the white-clothed old man made up his mind to find a secluded place in southern Xinjiang to cultivate for a period of time and wait for the right time, he did not know that the terrifying emperor beast he had abandoned was also attacking and killing him in southern Xinjiang. Obviously, this terrifying emperor beast has some kind of special ability to lock its position, and it has been staring at it. At the same time, there was one of his old friends in the Gu Temple in southern Xinjiang. Gu City, Holy Temple. Since Biyu successfully merged with the Emperor Gu and successfully entered the most powerful sequence, she began to hold the entire Gu clan and the entire southern Xinjiang power in her hands bit by bit. Chen Beiyuan also temporarily stayed in the temple and had no intention of leaving. On the one hand, he is waiting for the side effects of the magic stone to end. On the other hand, it's because of Anu. As the energy in her body revives more and more powerfully, the time she spends waking up becomes less and less. Even my beloved Nana doesn't drink much anymore. Instead, she likes to lie on Chen Beiyuan's body and hold him. It was obvious that she was about to break out of her cocoon and be reborn as an emperor. Taking into account various factors, Chen Beiyuan planned to make Anu become emperor in southern Xinjiang. Because Emperor Anuqing's movements must be extremely huge and will definitely cause quite a stir, and may even be noticed by Wanlong Island, causing huge trouble. In this case, you must find a safe place. The northern border is the base camp of the Chen family, which is very suitable, but it is too eye-catching and attracts attention from all parties, so it is not a good choice. Void Temple is also a good place to go. Being in the long river of Void, you can isolate yourself from prying eyes, which is the best choice. However, the last teleportation has consumed too much energy in the temple, and even Huang Fei has fallen into weakness. In the end, only southern Xinjiang, a place far away from the center of the empire, was extremely suitable, and it also had the assistance of the local force Gu clan, since supporting Inbiyu to take office. Chen Xiaoyuan clearly sensed how terrifying this woman's power was. It's almost like maxing out the talent of Machiavellian struggle. Coupled with his own terrifying talent and luck, it's simply perfect. In less than a week, the entire Gu clan was completely controlled, and through the method of killing chickens to scare monkeys, several large and small forces in southern Xinjiang who had previously been loyal to Su Long were wiped out, shocking everyone. From the beginning to the end, he had no chance to take action. He could only lie aggrievedly on the big white legs of Inbiyu, the lord of southern Xinjiang, helplessly accepting the feeding and silently watching everything happen. "Little master, open your mouth." Chen Xiaoyuan opened his mouth wide and handed the white catkins in front of him. He swallowed the peeled pink grapes in one gulp and savored them carefully. At this moment, he seemed to have fallen into a gentle land. He no longer had the previous struggle and was intoxicated. There is no way, he is still just a child at this moment. At such a young age, can't you enjoy enjoyment? The only thing that was a bit incongruous was the little silly dragon lying on top of him like a matryoshka doll. I saw that she was sleeping soundly, but she was holding his waist and unwilling to let go. Hungry. Maybe she was a little hungry, so she slowly opened a small gap, then suddenly stretched out her hand, opened Chen Xiaoyuan's mouth, snatched the grape out, and stuffed it directly into her mouth without bothering to bury it. Bah! Bah! In this regard, Chen Xiaoyuan was a little dumbfounded. He was not angry. He knew that this was because Anu subconsciously regarded him as someone close to him, so he did such a move. I saw that she took out the Nai bottle from the system space and blocked her mouth, which immediately calmed the restless Anu and stopped pulling him. "Come and wipe your mouth." And Biyu lowered her head and looked at the little adult, somewhat dumbfounded. The little boy, who was very different from the cold and deep appearance in the past, had a touch of tenderness on his face. She wiped the corners of his mouth with a silk scarf and rubbed it gently. Rub each other's cute pink face. At this moment, a trace of happy smile appeared on her lips unconsciously. She looked a little like a girl in love, but also a little like a gentle mother taking care of her children. If this scene were seen by outsiders, it would probably alarm the entire southern Xinjiang. This Gu clan saintess, who went on a killing spree as soon as he came to power, beheading almost countless heads and making all the tribes in southern Xinjiang fearful, actually had such a gentle side. You know, since a week ago, when the leaders of various ethnic groups in southern Xinjiang came to see Jin in the Gu City Temple, many people were trembling with fear from that ruthless and beautiful face, leaving a deep impression of fear. In fact, since Inbiyu came to power, what he has shown to the outside world is an almost dictatorial and cold image. Those who follow me will prosper, and those who go against me will perish. But don't tell me, people in southern Xinjiang who live in remote areas really do this. If you try to be reasonable and tolerant with people in southern Xinjiang, they will instantly think you are crazy, weak, and can be bullied, and you may even take advantage of them. But if you are indiscriminate, chop off 1.8 million heads first to ensure that everyone will fear you as evil and respect you as God. Only in front of her little master will she reveal her gentle side. The Gu girl standing aside looked at the harmonious and warm scene in front of her, with a hint of envy in her shining eyes, and the jade hands under her sleeves couldn't help but clenched. Once upon a time, the benefactor she had a crush on actually had that kind of relationship with her aunt, and was very likely to become her younger uncle. This undoubtedly completely wiped out some of the illusions in her heart. Although she did not have a close relationship with her aunt, she was outside the fifth server, and the Gu clan had always had the traditional skill of co-husband, but she knew that it was definitely impossible. Just when the girl was pregnant but felt disappointed. A sound of footsteps came from outside. I saw the familiar figure of the great elder slowly walking in from the outside. However, when he saw a certain little b asterisk 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 d who was deeply trapped in the gentle land, he couldn't help but snorted coldly. Since the last time the Emperor Gu was released from her body, her attitude towards someone has plummeted, and she wants to slap him on the ground and spank him hard. It was so hard that it turned purple. However, private grievances remain private grievances, and public affairs remain public affairs. She immediately looked at Enbiyu and said, Saintess, the Donghua Lin family has a large batch of military weapons to be transported to the southern war zone. They need to use the channels in southern Xinjiang. I hope we can come forward to coordinate with various ethnic groups. The leader of the team this time is Lin, the younger brother of the head of the Lin family. Jiu Xiao, he said he wants to meet you and give you a meeting gift. Donghua Lin family. Large-scale military equipment. And Biyu narrowed her eyes and suddenly looked at the little master in her arms. She was clearly aware of the hostile relationship between the Lin family and the Chen family. Under such circumstances, it is obviously impossible for her to help outsiders. Biyu, I heard that there are many villains and robbers in southern Xinjiang who like to kill people. Is this true? Chen Xiaoyuan suddenly spoke. Of course it's true. The most indispensable thing in southern Xinjiang is gangsters who like to rob people and things. Great Elder, I'll trouble you about this. Please help me take care of it. Don't let those gangsters steal things and kill everyone. After all, you are a guest from afar, so at least you have to stay alive. And Biyu answered understandingly. I know what to do. The Great Elder looked at the two people singing together and knew their intention, so he turned and left. Little Master, how about I order to cut off the military supply line of the Southern Front, and then strictly order all the ethnic groups in southern Xinjiang to sell food and water to the Southern Front privately, completely cutting off his source of livelihood. In this case, with the Lin family stationed there, the daily intense consumption on the internal front will probably eat up the inventory in a few days, and it will inevitably be unable to hold on. And Biyu suddenly spoke. As the Lord of southern Xinjiang, how terrifying the power she holds is now fully revealed. First, they withheld military supplies and equipment, and then cut off all the living supplies transported by the Donghua Empire to the internal front. This was almost to force the last of the Lin family's troops to death. Just do as you say. Chen Xiaoyuan nodded slowly. Although he was a little surprised by Enbiyu's ruthless method of removing salary from the bottom of the cauldron, he had no objection. He has always noticed the Lin family's little moves. Do you want to rely on the quietly expanding army on the southern front to achieve a comeback? Hehe, don't even think about it. This time, he will completely abolish all military power of the Lin family. Oh. Just when Chen Xiaoyuan was about to continue opening his mouth to eat grapes, he suddenly frowned, as if sensing something, and looked sharply in a certain direction. Uh-huh. He instantly raised his body, with two peaks on his head, holding the little girl with a tiger head hat in his arms. His eyes suddenly turned cold. Even though his cultivation was sealed to the general level, the strength of his body and soul was not suppressed, and even continued to increase, becoming more terrifying. At this moment, he had already noticed the vague aura of a certain old man in white clothes who was in southern Xinjiang. In an instant, a playful sneer suddenly appeared on his cute little face, as if he had seen you falling into a trap under the moonlight. It seems to be God's will. After all the detours, it finally arrived at my door. If that's the case, then I can't ignore God's kindness. It's time to settle old scores. If it had been before, he might have considered waiting for his cultivation to recover before taking action. After all, the other party was not a simple thing. But now, the other party is in southern Xinjiang, almost on his territory. With him, plus Biyu and the Emperor Gu on her body, even the man from the palace has to weigh. Southern Xinjiang, Deadwood Valley. The rails made of fine steel were forcibly welded to the ground, and specially reinforced to prevent them from being snatched away by some people in southern Xinjiang. Back then, the empire once wanted to repair a railway track from southern Xinjiang to the southern front to facilitate the transportation of supplies and military armaments. However, at that time, there was strong opposition from the entire southern Xinjiang, and even a large-scale bloody fight. There was also an incident where a group of people went to pick up railroad tracks in the middle of the night. In the end, after nearly 10 years of struggle, the matter was finally shelved and did not continue. Both sides finally took a step back. The railway track can be repaired, but only half of it can be repaired. After everything is transported halfway, you have to find a way to deliver the next transportation. During this period, it is not uncommon to encounter some bandits who are looking for trouble and want benefits. And this is the fundamental reason why the Lin family wants to coordinate with the behemoth Gu clan. If you don't have good dealings with the Gu tribe, a local snake, it's really easy to get into trouble. Southern Xinjiang is a chaotic place, and there is no shortage of desperate desperados. Boom. A huge vehicle that was completely black, emitting an icy cold light, and constantly emitting thick black smoke, was speeding along the railway track at a terrifying speed. The huge noise directly caused some of the surrounding beasts to run around in fear. This giant chariot, built with huge investment by the empire, has 50 carriages and is several kilometers long. From the sky, it looks like a long, winding dragon. It is loaded with countless weapons and equipment. Among them, there are many large-scale weapons newly developed by the empire. In the front compartment of this steel behemoth, Lin Jiuxiao, who is the team leader, is eating hot pot with the other strong men of the Lin family, hugging women, feasting, and bonding. A middle-aged man who looked like a butler was reporting the situation to Lin Jiuxiao. Third Master, our people have already contacted the Gu clan and established relationships through various channels. The new Saintess also said that he can give the Lin family a face and is willing to give us 5 minutes to meet and discuss the next step. Here are the rules. With the Gu clan's guarantee, the next journey will be smooth, and the other forces in southern Xinjiang will never dare to make mistakes easily. Lin Jiuxiao nodded repeatedly after listening to the butler's report, very satisfied. This is the first time he has gone out to handle a major family task on behalf of the Lin family. The weapons and equipment of the entire 5 armies are all on this imperial train. Its total value is no less than tens of trillions, and it can indirectly affect the entire Lin family's next strategy. Now, everyone's eyes are focused on him. He doesn't say he wants to be perfect. At least, it has to be so that people can't be picky about it. Next, he will start to accumulate some reputation and team of his own in preparation for his subsequent rise to power. Ha ha ha. Steward, you did a good job. As expected, my elder brother was right to send you to assist me. Everyone, this is the first time Jiuxiao has carried out such an important mission. If there are any shortcomings, we need to rely on you. Lin Jiuxiao raised his glass, changed from his previous arrogant character, became bold and generous, and began to face Corporal Li Xian, a strong man of the Lin family, in front of him. Ha ha. Third Master, you are so polite. You are the brother of the head of the house. Before you came out, the head of the house gave you orders. We will listen to you this time and promise to protect your safety. Third Master, the head of the family has already established relations with the Gu clan, and with the prestige of the Lin family, naturally no young person would dare to touch. Boom. Before the strong men of the Lin family could express their stance, they were immediately overshadowed by a violent explosion and impact. The entire carriage was instantly spinning, and the flames were blazing. Enemy attack. Enemy attack. Protect Third Master. Protect Third Master. Whoever eats the ambitious leopard dares to touch us. Snapped. Lin Jiuxiao, who was about to be knocked unconscious by the explosion and impact, only felt a pain on the right side of his face, as if he had been slapped hard. Suddenly, stars appeared in his eyes, and he was woken up. When he opened his eyes in a daze and saw the scene in front of him, he was stunned in place for an instant. I saw that at this moment, he was hanging on a crooked tree. In front of him was the corpse of a strong man from the Lin family. The imperial train not far away was missing several sections, as if it had been chopped off by a steel knife. Under the tree, there were standing robbers wearing masks whose appearance was unclear, looking at him coldly. For the sake of your fate, I will give you a day to survive. Go back and tell Lin Jiuzhou that we want this batch of goods. If you are not convinced, we will send someone to southern Xinjiang to have a try. Just as the Lin family's military equipment was intercepted halfway, the supply route on the southern front was also intercepted by a group of mysterious robbers. Now, the Lin family's army on the entire southern front not only has to face the problem of being unable to replace weapons and equipment, but also has to face the situation of having to sit back and have nothing to do without subsequent supplies. This almost cuts off all their ways of survival. Inside a cave on a primitive giant peak filled with countless swamp poisonous insects, an old Taoist dressed in white is sitting cross-legged practicing, cultivating himself and recuperating, unaware that danger is approaching. This place has the earth veins and the nourishment of the earth's qi, which can recover the old Taoist's injuries as quickly as possible. Although taking away the earth's qi will cause 1,000 miles of drought here, and the lives of the people will be destroyed, I can't care too much for my life. I have been doing good deeds for hundreds of years, and I can naturally bear the cause and effect of a drought in a small area. After the injury is recovered, I will recite the rebirth mantra for the fallen creatures here. The old Taoist in white frantically extracted the earth's spirit qi here, which surged into his body and nourished his slightly dilapidated and rotten body. Normally, it is a Taoist taboo to extract the earth's qi to nourish oneself and cause the lives of the people to be destroyed. But now, in order to survive, the old Taoist in white can't blame too much. Under the nourishment of the endless earth vein energy, the large age spots on his face were suppressed, his skin was rejuvenated, and his withered gray hair became white again. Instantly, he seemed to have turned back into the immortal master of Heavenly Secrets Pavilion. However, the old Taoist in white knew that this was just an appearance. The damage to his internal lifespan had not been made up. As the earth vein energy was extracted, the surrounding land began to crack, the trees began to wither, the water sources began to dry up, and even the hair of the beasts living here began to fall off. The earth vein is the vitality of a place. Once it is affected, it will undoubtedly be a disaster for the creatures nurtured here. However, for the white-clothed Taoist at this moment, this is just a small matter. Finally, the injuries in my body have been suppressed, which is a preliminary solution to a problem. However, the lifespan that I have lost over the years is difficult to make up. After being attacked by so much lifespan, I am afraid that I only have less than 10 years left to live. Even my body has entered a period of decline. So if I want to survive until the catastrophe comes, the possibility of breaking through the realm of God is almost negligible. Nowadays, the only way is to find a way to increase lifespan and improve physical strength. I vaguely remember that the royal Jiang family had a blood sacrifice technique that could condense blood pills and obtain lifespan through large-scale blood sacrifices. When the northern border fell 100 years ago, the old monster in the palace relied on this technique and secretly cooperated with the alien beasts to sacrifice a border and condensed a fist-sized blood pill, which was obtained for nearly 100 years. Lifespan. The old Taoist in white had a twinkling look in his eyes, as if he had thought of something, and then he secretly made up his mind. This technique is extremely evil, and it is harmful to the harmony of nature, and it also has considerable side effects. But in order to survive, it can only be a temporary measure. Others can use it, so why can't I? It just so happens that this place is in the southern border, and there are countless living people, which can just become the means for me to survive. Boom. A terrifying and vast monster chi suddenly condensed from the sky, forming a 1,000-foot giant halberd, and fiercely smashed down towards the original mountain where the old Taoist in white was. Thunder shook, flames shot up into the sky, and a huge explosion resounded through the sky, and dust lingered. In an instant, the original mountain before disappeared without a trace and was razed to the ground. Only a 1,000-foot giant halberd pierced deeply into the ground, emitting terrifying monster chi, which spread to the sky and condensed into a huge demon cloud. Swish! A dazzling and mysterious light of heavenly secrets like a silver star appeared. The slightly embarrassed figure of the old Taoist in white suddenly appeared, with cracks on his white Taoist robe, no longer the immortal style just now, and a little cold sweat on his face. Just now, if there was no early warning from the sky, He would have been killed by a halberd if he had not noticed the danger in advance and quickly escaped into the heavenly gate with a secret method. He did not believe that his Taoist body could be stronger than the primitive mountain. He looked at the 1,000-foot giant halberd in front of him with doubts, and his expression suddenly changed drastically, as if he recognized the origin of this halberd. Celestial Beast Halberd. This is Lin Laogui's natal emperor weapon. It is also the inherited emperor weapon that has been passed down in the Lin family for nearly 1,000 years. This is almost one of the top 5 terrifying emperor weapons in the entire Donghua Empire. Its terrifying power combined with the demonic body of the Lin family is enough to scare countless strong men. But the problem is that this top-notch emperor weapon is no longer in the hands of old ghost Lin after the battle in the imperial capital, but in the hands of Chen Beiyuan. Damn it! The old man in white shuddered and suddenly felt a chill. He raised his head and looked at the huge cloud covering the land in the sky. Suddenly, the figure of Chen Beiyuan, dressed in black and standing with his hands behind his back, came into view. As expected, it's you, Chen Bei. Before the old man in white finished speaking, he was stunned for a moment when he looked at the other party's young face and the almost negligible aura of cultivation. It seems that this is somewhat inconsistent with his impression of the domineering, ruthless figure in black. It seems that the shrinkage is quite serious. However, this doesn't seem to be the point. Escape. There was almost no difference at all, and the idea of escape instantly flooded into my mind. Although the aura of Chen Beiyuan in front of him was very weak, there was a sharp tingling sensation in his Tianji sense. This means that the other party has the ability to threaten his life. Naturally, the white-clothed old man who has long been accustomed to go can't rush in to kill him like a brainless villain. However, even so, he was still a step slow. Boom. A trace of anger suddenly appeared on Chen Beiyuan's face, and the mysterious yellow chi suddenly appeared on his face, embodying the coercion of the ancient sovereign. Human sovereign chi. Ignore your cultivation. Ignore the realm. The weather of the ancient human sovereign directly deters all human race, alien races, and ferocious beasts. Forcibly weaken their cultivation realm. Ancient human sovereign. The white-clothed old Taoist's expression changed drastically, and he was instantly shocked. In an instant, he was unable to move, and the divine light on his body was forcibly interrupted. The cultivation level at the peak of Emperor level instantly dropped to the middle level of Emperor level. Puff! A counterattack force emerged from the body again. The white-clothed old man spurted out another mouthful of black blood. His breath instantly became sluggish, and he fell into brief chaos. At this moment, a fairy figure wearing holy goo clothes and exuding a cold and majestic aura suddenly appeared out of thin air, stretched out a finger, pointed at the white-clothed old man, and softly chanted. Extremely cold. Bang! The space suddenly solidified. The figure of the old man in white instantly froze in place and was condensed into a huge ice sculpture. When the Taoist priest in white was frozen by Chen Beiyuan's mysterious ice dragon soul goo, not only his body was frozen, but also his soul was instantly frozen, and his thoughts fell into rigidity and darkness. Bang! The huge ice sculpture suddenly fell from the air and hit a rotten quagmire, splashing the sky with foul-smelling mud. The Taoist priest in white, whose body and soul were directly frozen by ice power, was inside the ice sculpture, with fear and despair on his face, covering his chest, black blood flowing from the corners of his mouth, and a trace of heavenly light on his body that had not yet dissipated. From his expression of fear and despair, I'm afraid that even he could not have dreamed that he would be defeated so quickly, with almost no power to resist and even no chance to escape. Before the battle in the imperial capital, he escaped from the old monster of the Jiang family in the palace one after another. Later, although he was counterattacked by Chen Beiyuan, the emperor, he still managed to save his life. Even if he is unlucky and encounters a terrifying beast from outside the domain, he can still escape danger. This cautious and timid old Taoist in white may not have high combat power, but his means of saving his life are definitely beyond the imagination of ordinary people. As a result, he is now capsized in the gutter. Finally caught this old Taoist. Seeing that he easily captured this old B asterisk 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 D who had plotted against him and the entire Chen family several times behind the scenes. Even Chen Xiaoyuan couldn't help but feel a little happy at this moment. In order to catch this guy, he spent a lot of thought and even used the human sovereign aura he had obtained before. The majestic aura of ancient sovereign is undoubtedly the most deterrent effect compared to the human race. I also broke the secret of the Taoist priest in white, causing him to suffer a terrible backlash. This Taoist priest is not as simple as he seems. He just suspected that he had discovered my existence and secretly activated a treasure of luck, trying to escape. If you hadn't broken his secret with the spirit of sovereign, temporarily ruined his luck, and cut off his way of life, I might not have been able to catch him. And Beiyuan had a serious look on her face and spoke slowly. The Emperor Gu, possessed on her body, obviously saw that the Taoist priest in white had real skills. Suddenly, she looked sideways at the short figure beside her thigh, couldn't help but stretch out her hand, rubbed her head, and said, "Your bloodline is somewhat amazing to me. It has both the bloodline of the ancient demon lord and the bloodline of the ancient human sovereign. It is really interesting. You know, these two were mortal enemies in ancient times. If the ancient demon lord was undefeated back then, the current human sovereign family should be your Chen family. However, your father is also amazing. He was able to sleep with the daughter of the Ji family, which can be regarded as indirectly fighting for the reputation of your ancestor. With two sovereign bloodlines, if we only talk about the nobility of the bloodline origin, I am afraid that even the one in the imperial palace can't compare to you. However, why didn't you let me kill this old Taoist directly just now, but only sealed his body and soul? You know that such a person must have many means and be mysterious and unpredictable. As long as he is still alive, there will be a lot of trouble. The best way is to kill him directly." Facing the curious eyes of Beiyuan, Chen Xiaoyuan seemed very calm and slapped away the hand that was trying to cause trouble and grabbed Huang Long. "I have other great uses for him, so it's not time to kill him yet. Besides, based on what this old Taoist did before, it would be too much of a relief to just kill him." Xianbing Holy Temple. Chen Xiaoyuan sat cross-legged on the ground, his dark eyes flashing a cold light from time to time. Even the blood dragon mark between the eyebrows has a strong smell of blood. At this moment, a huge ice sculpture was placed in front of him, and the lifelike figure of the old man in white appeared in front of him, motionless. Since I started practicing the Forbidden Grimoire, I haven't really plundered and devoured new powerful characteristics, so I'll use you today to do the surgery. Old Taoist, I want your divine ability talent to spy on the secrets of heaven. Boom. The forbidden aura erupted from his body, manifesting the terrifying forbidden demonic energy, which instantly swept through the entire temple, covering everything, including the ice sculpture in front of him. Click, click. The wildly surging forbidden demonic energy began to rush towards the ice sculpture crazily, penetrated deep into it, and penetrated towards the old man in white. Bang! The ice sculpture suddenly burst open with big holes, and a blood-curdling scream began to resound inside the ice sculpture that was covered by the magic mist. A strange and terrifying sound like eating appeared in the magic mist. Ding! The host is using the forbidden magic book to plunder and devour, and begins to extract the unique power of the target's body to devour. Ding! Congratulations to the host for plundering the new characteristic talent, Tianji Daofa? Tianji Daofa. The forbidden demonic energy practiced by the host itself will add new characteristics. It can deduce the secrets of heaven through its own magic thoughts, gain insight into the details, and get the subtle results it wants. It also has a special sense of early warning of heavenly secrets, which can be used in advance. Anticipate danger. Note, this feature talent has a flaw. Once it backfires, it is very likely to lose lifespan, and for those with deep luck, the conclusions will be very few and may even fail. Temple. There have been changes in the army on the southern front. The military leader of the Lin family stationed on the southern front seemed to have noticed that the channels for transporting supplies were cut off and began to use the secret method of blood magic to send messages to his family. However, he was stopped by the Blood Gu clan. It was intercepted, and Biyu put down the communication Gu in her hand, and the corresponding message and picture instantly appeared in her mind. She understood it instantly and nodded secretly. Suddenly, she seemed to notice a creepy taboo aura. Her expression changed slightly, and her body couldn't help but tremble. The Emperor Gu in the body also suddenly opened a gap and looked in the direction of the holy temple behind him, with a hint of surprise and surprise. What a weird and magical nature. Southern border. The clouds above were suddenly covered by a huge shadow, as if there was some kind of huge creature that was moving quickly. There was a terrifying sense of oppression that almost made the surrounding space make a terrible crackling sound, as if it could not bear the speed of its body's movement. Boom. Suddenly, the huge, fast-moving creature stopped moving forward strangely and stopped in the sky, motionless, as if it was inexplicably confused. It seems that the aura of the target it is chasing is disappearing. Xianbing Holy Temple. The forbidden demonic energy that covered the surroundings gradually faded, revealing the surrounding ice and snow, as well as a huge broken ice sculpture. In the ice sculpture, most of the frozen parts of the old Taoist in white had thawed, and there were countless hideous wounds on his body. There was a huge blood hole in the dantian of his abdomen, and his flesh and blood were blurred. At this moment, the Taoist in white no longer had the immortal style and bones as before, and there was no longer any breath and cultivation of a cultivator. His skin and flesh were loose, and his blood and qi were deficient, just like an old man with a lamp running out of oil. His turbid and lifeless eyes stared at the little boy in front of him with closed eyes, the little boy with a silver-white mysterious light, with resentment, as if he had seen an enemy who had cut off his path. You evil demon. The Taoist in white stared at the silver-white mysterious light on the little boy, trembling all over, not knowing whether he was angry or frozen. At this moment, his whole body was deficient in qi and blood, even worse than an ordinary person. He would soon be frozen to death in the ice and snow. But even so, the injuries on his body still could not make up for the mental pain and anger. Just now, his hundreds of years of cultivation in the Tao were directly destroyed, and his top fighting spirit, Heavenly Secret, was directly plundered and swallowed by the monster in front of him, becoming the opponent's power. This means that he has almost become a complete waste. For a strong man, taking away his proud, powerful power is undoubtedly more terrifying than death. When the powerful power in the body is forcibly extracted bit by bit, the body becomes weak, as if the high and mighty immortal is forcibly knocked down to the mortal world. This is undoubtedly an indescribable mental torture, enough to drive people crazy. If I had known earlier, I should have killed you when you were young, regardless of everything, even if it would cause disputes between the Jiang family and the Chen family. The puppet in the palace and the old monster of the Jiang family will regret it. They will definitely regret it. The threat of the entire Chen family combined is not as big as you, a little monster. The old Taoist has practiced Taoism for hundreds of years. I thought that the prophecy about you back then was nothing more than a false praise and killing. I didn't expect it to be a prophecy. In the future, the one who destroys Jiang will be Chen Beiyuan. The white-clothed Taoist screamed almost crazily. His skin had already turned purple, and as he struggled, his skin was directly torn apart, revealing the flesh and bones inside. This most mysterious person in the Donghua Empire Taoist was obviously crazy. Unconsciously, he tore his arms and half of his right leg apart and fell to the snow. He ignored the cold pain of the snow that pierced into his bones and twisted towards Chen Beiyuan in front of him like a worm. The teeth in his mouth began to age and fall off, and his face was worn and torn off bit by bit, revealing blood and flesh, revealing the white bones. The only pair of turbid eyes left stared at the silver-white mysterious light permeating the other person, with a trace of the last madness and desire. My, that's mine. Shua. Chen Beiyuan suddenly opened his cold eyes and looked at the incomplete, blood-colored Taoist corpse that was crawling in front of him. There was no movement on his face. He stretched out his right hand and grabbed the face of the blood-colored Taoist corpse in front of him and exerted a little force. Bang! The head of the bloody Taoist corpse suddenly exploded, and the brains burst out. The headless corpse suddenly trembled and remained motionless, like a bullfrog that had been skinned and had its hands and feet cut off, trembling. Chen Xiaoyuan stretched out his hand to grab the remaining aura of life and used the Dian Soul method to directly search for the soul and plunder the old Taoist's memory fragments. In an instant, all the memory fragments of Bai Daoist for hundreds of years evolved in front of Chen Xiaoyuan. The method of blood sacrifice. Sacrifice to the north. Huge blood pill. 100 years lifespan. Huge hidden danger. The blood of blood relatives. 10,000 years of catastrophe. Seal from outside the territory. Mythical recovery. Return of immortals and gods. The road to becoming a god. Chess pieces and chess players. Terrorist beasts. Extraterrestrial creatures. Harbingers of catastrophe. The imperial capital. The palace. There is. In the last fragment of Bai Laodao's memory, there was only pure fear, as if he had seen some unbelievable scene. Even though he had witnessed Lin Zhao's resurrection and Chen Xiaoyuan's terror before, this old man in white had never been so scared and desperate. Even Chen Xiaoyuan at this moment couldn't help but be infected by this inexplicable emotion. He frowned suddenly and murmured to himself, "This old Dao Guo knows a lot of secrets, even the Jiang family's secrets. No wonder that old monster in the palace has been able to live for so long." It turns out that he practiced the blood sacrifice technique and used the Donghua compatriots in the north to condense blood elixirs. He even attacked his blood relatives. There are also many secrets about 10,000 years of catastrophe that were not mentioned in the original work, and I know a little about it. However, what exactly is hidden in the palace that makes him so afraid? I'm afraid not even that old monster from the Jiang family has made him so afraid. Chen Xiaoyuan frowned and noticed something strange. It seemed that he was aroused by the creepy fear before the old man died. In that case, let's make some calculations. I want to see what is hidden in the palace that can scare him so much that he loses his mind and panics. Now that I have just obtained the Tianji Tao method from the old Taoist, I can use it to test whether there is any mystery in it. I saw a Taoist seal suddenly condensed on Chen Xiaoyuan's hand, which evolved rapidly, and the mysterious light of heaven suddenly shone brightly on his body, as if he was connected to some mysterious existence. Drip, drip, drip. As time goes by, the ever-evolving light of heaven still does not stop, but becomes brighter. Chen Xiaoyuan's expression suddenly turned serious from the calm at the beginning, and even became a bit more grim. Boom. A bolt of thunder erupted in my mind, as if it had touched some hidden taboo, directly triggering a backlash from heaven. Puff! Chen Xiaoyuan's face turned pale, and a mouthful of blood spurted out. I saw that the spurting blood slowly squirmed on the snow and condensed into several strange words. The palace has ghosts. The palace has ghosts. Chen Xiaoyuan's pupils shrank, suppressing the feeling of weakness caused by the backlash, and stared at the strange blood words on the snow in front of him. His eyes suddenly turned cold. I don't know when there was a strange sacred stone in his hand. It was held upside down in the palm of his hand, exuding an inexplicable warmth. Just at the first glance, the strange square blood characters in front of him gave him a creepy feeling, as if he had touched some kind of unspeakable taboo. It almost made his hair stand on end. This feeling, even the ancestors of the Jiang family had never given him this feeling. I thought that the old monster of the Jiang family was already the most terrifying existence and the most powerful enemy of the Chen family at this stage. Unexpectedly, there is a more terrifying existence hidden deep in the palace. If I hadn't plundered and devoured the Tianji Taoist technique of the white-clothed old Taoist, and by chance, devoured his memory and discovered something was wrong, would I really not have noticed that there was a ghost hiding deep in the palace? Sure enough, although the plot of the original work can be believed, it cannot be fully believed. Some things are far from being as simple as they appear on the surface. The real horrors are buried under the icebergs and deep seas. Chen Xiaoyuan felt the 20 years of lifespan dissipated in his body due to backlash, but there was no big disturbance. It is different from the situation of the old man in white who is rotten and old. 20 years is like dying of an old man. 20 years of lifespan were nothing to mention to the young and energetic man. In contrast, using lifespan for just 20 years, he was able to detect a huge hidden danger. For him, it was definitely worth it. Even if it is 50 or 100 years, he will not blink. This news is undoubtedly extremely important to him, and it will even affect his subsequent layout of the Jiang family. Sure enough, choosing the old man in white as the target of the forbidden grimoire to plunder and devour for the first time, and successfully obtaining the talent power that can spy on the secret of heaven, was definitely his wisest choice during this period. I'm afraid that even the Jiang family has never thought that there is a ghost hiding in their home. By the way, Yinhua seems to have been staying in the palace during this period and has never left. This is not okay. It's okay if I didn't know before. But now that I know, I can't let her stay in there all the time. A flash of fire flickered from the fingertips, and the bloody Taoist corpse in front of him instantly burned into ashes, completely destroying humanity. Even if it is confirmed that Bai Daoist is dead, who can guarantee whether this old guy has any backup plans, or whether he will fake the corpse by chance, or it is better to completely eliminate the hidden dangers. There are still 8 days left for the side effects of the Divine Transformation Stone. After 8 days, you will be able to, Chen Beiyuan felt a stinging pain in his eyebrows, and Tianji Daofa issued an early warning, as if he sensed that some kind of terrorist threat was coming at a very fast speed. Swish! He suddenly raised his eyes and looked up, ignoring the obstacles of the entire Xianbing Holy Temple. A mysterious light shone in his eyes, and he vaguely saw a terrifying giant shadow wrapped in flames. Although he never saw the whole picture, Chen Beiyuan knew the identity of the visitor through the memory of Daoist in white. Boom! Emperor Weapon's peak, celestial beast halberd, suddenly appeared in his hand, and the strength in his hand suddenly exploded, and he threw it towards the void. Temple. The cold and charming young woman who was secretly holding a small bitter tea and sniffing it secretly on the tip of her nose, with a hint of mellow red appearing on her face, suddenly became shocked and sensed something in an instant. She looked up sharply, and the fascination in her eyes disappeared, turning into coldness and anger. How brave! Just when she was about to take action, she suddenly noticed a terrifying monster that was one step ahead of her, erupting from the temple behind. Boom! Over Gu City in southern Xinjiang, a huge flame meteor is crashing towards the entire Gu clan's huge town at a terrifying speed exceeding dozens of times the speed of sound. The huge size of the fire meteor is like a majestic mountain. Once it really hits, it may be enough to physically destroy the entire Gu City. It moved extremely fast, and everyone in Gu City had just noticed it, but before they could react, they felt the devastating high-temperature heat wave. What the hell is that? No, it's going to fall down. Why did such a huge flaming meteorite suddenly appear? Wait, that seems to be a living giant monster wrapped in flames. Countless Gu tribe members looked horrified and screamed in fear. It seemed as if he was also frightened by this sudden natural disaster. Not even Gu City's clan protection formation could withstand such a horrific natural disaster. However, those with sharp eyes suddenly saw the vague silhouette of a huge monster through the terrifying flames. Among the crowd, Anya, a girl from the Gu tribe who had just bought 2 bunches of candied haws, was frightened by the sudden and terrifying coercion. Her face stiffened and her body trembled. In her desperate eyes, the huge monster figure wrapped in flames came into view. Click! At this moment, the void suddenly shattered. A nearly 1,000-foot-high halberd with squirming blood and filled with terror monster chi. The evil-looking giant halberd suddenly tore through the void, appeared from the direction of the temple, and slashed hard at the flaming meteor above. Boom! Following the collision between the two, violent explosions swept across in all directions instantly. Zilala! The terrifying monster chi filled with the 1,000-foot-long celestial beast halberd was suddenly burned by flames, but it did not dissipate at all. Instead, it became more turbulent, like hot oil poured into a hot pot. Boom! The celestial beast halberd, the top-notch emperor weapon, seemed to be enraged. Barbaric giant monster roars suddenly appeared, and even more terrifying monster chi erupted. The terrible existence hidden in the fire meteor suddenly opened its huge, ferocious eyes and was obviously awakened by this sudden change. Bang! The next moment, the giant great monster halberd that appeared suddenly from the fire meteor was violently exploded, and the terrifying emperor beast hidden inside was directly driven out. But even so, the terrifying flames on the terrifying emperor beast that was interrupted and descended instantly turned into countless sparks like a volcano erupting, falling towards the entire Gu city. Although the biggest natural disaster has been solved, there are still small problems after the solution. Ice, foam. A cold, majestic, and charming voice suddenly appeared from above the temple. Immediately, under the surprised eyes of countless people, countless ice instantly appeared out of thin air above the entire Gu city, condensing into a huge ice shield, covering the entire Gu city. Boom! Those terrifying sparks hit the ice cover and were instantly solidified by the even more terrifying low temperature. They lost their high temperature and turned into huge obsidian. It's His Majesty Saintus. His Royal Highness Saintus used the power of Emperor Gu to save us. Is this the power of Lord Emperor Gu? Such a great power. It actually enveloped the entire Gu city in an instant. I know that with His Majesty Saintus and Lord Emperor Gu here, no one can invade our southern Xinjiang Gu clan. Seeing Beiyu's cold and noble figure appear above the temple, in an instant, the entire Gu city roared with excitement, as if it had seen a god. Only Anya, who was standing in front of the Tonghalu stall, looked slightly stunned, looking blankly at the huge ice cover that covered the entire Gu city, a little absent-minded. Just now, she seemed to see two small familiar figures leaving before the huge ice shield enveloped Gu city, attacking and killing the terrifying emperor beast that was shot away. Boom! In the sky outside the huge ice cover, the terrifying existence that was blown away by the celestial beast halberd finally showed its true terrifying form at this moment. It was an extremely ferocious and terrifying beast, with steel-like barbs growing all over its body, its arms like a pair of sickles, its head wrapped in layers of spiked armor, revealing a pair of dark eyes, and the bottom of a thick and long steel tail. It's a round thorn hammer. Anyone who looks at it for the first time will be frightened by its terrifying shape. This is almost a monster born for killing. At the same time, at this moment, it was exuding a terrifying coercion comparable to that of a half-step to the strongest. However, at this moment, there were two small figures appearing directly on the left and right of it without changing their expressions, staring at it with interest. One is a little monk wearing a red cassock with a bald head, a compassionate face, and soft eyes. One is a little Taoist priest wearing a black Taoist robe, with long flowing hair, a stern face, and indifferent eyes. These two were clearly the good corpse and the evil corpse in their childhood. Ba, is this the terrifying imperial beast that is suspected to have entered from outside the territory, has a special physique, and hunted down the white-robed Taoist with no way to go to heaven, no way to enter the earth, and finally fled to the southern border? It does look a bit fierce, but I don't know it. How did Mom give birth to it? It's so prickly. Does it hurt if you don't K it? The little monk looked at the many long thorns on the terrifying emperor beast's body with curiosity, and couldn't help but touch his smooth little head, feeling filled with emotion. Wanna know? Ask its mother. The little Taoist priest's eyes were cold, his tone was harsh, and he spoke with slanderous words. Chong. The terrifying emperor beast may have heard the joking meaning of the good and evil corpses in front of him. Its dark eyes instantly burst out with strong, murderous intent, and like a pair of sharp, giant scythe-like arms, it suddenly slashed towards them. A slightly vague human voice actually came out of its mouth. Die! This terrifying emperor beast that entered from outside the territory only lasted for a few days. Not only did it evolve many times, but it also learned human language. This sudden situation made both the good and evil corpses in their childhood stunned for a moment, with a strange look on their faces. However, facing the scythe attack that almost tore apart the space, the two of them showed no fear at all. Although the cultivation base of the main body has been sealed, the foundation of the physical body is still there. As the twin corpses of good and evil, they naturally inherited the body of the original body. You are so bold and evil, and you still dare to show off your evil deeds. It seems that I have no choice but to keep you, mighty heavenly dragon. The compassion on the young monk's face suddenly disappeared, and he turned to glare. He threw out the red cassock and activated blood dragon transformation. The bleeding dragon totem condensed on his body. His snow-white and thin body suddenly expanded, and his muscles were knotted in sandbags. The big fist suddenly exploded, subduing the dragon and subduing the tiger. The little Taoist priest in different face suddenly turned ferocious. His sleeves and Taoist robes lifted up without any wind, and he directly manifested the divine ability of melee combat, one of the Heavenly Dipper's 36 methods, and the sound of tigers roaring and dragons roaring suddenly erupted from his body. At this moment, the physical bodies of both good and evil corpses reached a terrifying level. Even though his cultivation is still at the general level, he can crush ordinary emperor-level peak existences with his physical body. Chong. The terrifying emperor beast only felt the sides on its arms tremble, and immediately a terrifying force came and was directly punched from the sky to the ground, directly smashing a majestic mountain into a huge sinkhole. Bang! At this moment, the 1,000-foot giant halberd exuding the terrifying monster chi appeared again and stabbed it fiercely. Its sharp halberd tip instantly penetrated the chest of the terrifying emperor beast and stabbed it into the ground. Pain. The terrifying emperor beast, which was nailed to the ground by the celestial beast's halberd, howled in pain and began to struggle crazily. The arms like huge sides suddenly clamped the celestial beast halberd on the chest, as if trying to pull it out. But the next moment, the good and evil corpses suddenly appeared, beating the drowned dog, and it was a head-on blow. Boom! Under a series of fierce attacks, this terrifying emperor beast was almost unable to fight back, and it was difficult to fight back. Whoosh! Chen Beiyuan, dressed in black, and in Beiyuan, with snow-white eyes appeared in the sky at the same time, looking down at the terrifying emperor beast that was blasted below with calm expressions. I saw that the aura of the terrifying emperor beast that was at a disadvantage was not only not weak and sluggish at this moment, but also became bit by bit stronger. Kill him directly, Chen Beiyuan said coldly. Having obtained part of the memory of Taoist in white, he naturally knows how difficult the terrifying monster below with the terrifying ability to evolve is. Once it is given enough time, I am afraid it will be able to continue to evolve and successfully enter the order of the strongest. Therefore, he will never give the other party the slightest chance. If it weren't for his current cultivation being sealed and unable to use too much forbidden demonic energy, making it difficult to use most powerful means, he would have gone all out to kill this thing. Extreme chill. And Beiyuan nodded, without any hesitation, and pointed out, suddenly raising the ice and snow, freezing the space, and instantly completely freezing the terrifying emperor beast on the ground. Even the good and evil corpses who were making crazy moves were instantly frozen. However, these two were just frozen before they turned into good and evil spirits and returned to their original bodies. In an instant, all the surrounding mountains and ground were covered with ice and snow, like a country of ice and snow. The terror and tyranny of Emperor Gu were fully demonstrated at this moment. It easily changed the celestial phenomenon, freezing the mountains and the earth into a country of ice and snow, and countless creatures fell into the darkness of death. Even the terrifying emperor beast that was still struggling crazily just now was completely motionless, as if it had lost its life. This stupid big guy only looks powerful, but that's all in fact. I killed a lot of giant beasts with my master back then, and there are many who are stronger than it. If Beiyu's cultivation level is really too low, resulting in a low degree of integration with me, and it is difficult to use all my strength and perception, this stupid big guy will not even have a chance to get close to the Gu clan, and the chance will be separated by me. Killed. And Beiyuan saw a trace of pride on her face when she saw the terrifying emperor beast that had just attempted to attack Gu City turned into a huge ice sculpture. Her pair of snow-white eyes couldn't help but look towards Chen Beiyuan beside her, with a bit of nobility and arrogance, and her restless little hands seemed to want to go down and touch her cute face. And little heads. Ever since he was pinched hard by some little b asterisk 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 d using luck divine ability, last time, the most mysterious and powerful Emperor Gu in the Gu clan has always wanted to regain his place. But unexpectedly, Chen Beiyuan ignored her little movement, but stared closely at the Emperor Beast Eye sculpture below, frowning slightly, as if he had noticed something. He possesses the forbidden grimoire and is very sensitive to death. It's alive. What? And Beiyuan looked stiff. Click, click. The next moment, a slap in the face suddenly occurred. The Emperor Beast Eye sculpture that fell into silence below suddenly began to tremble, and tiny cracks appeared, gradually spreading, expanding, and getting worse. The terrible Emperor Beast that had been frozen just now and seemed to have no vital characteristics actually began to resurrect. The steel barbs on its body began to crack, revealing its golden and silver steel skin. It also began to absorb the surrounding ice and snow, accelerating its transformation. Speed. This terrifying Emperor Beast has actually begun to evolve again, and has also evolved the ability to withstand ice and absorb. Soon, under the gaze of the two people, the aura on its body surged again, as if it had begun to move from the realm of half-power to a truly powerful existence. Is it really an alien creature? It doesn't belong to this world. Chen Beiyuan narrowed his eyes and stared closely at the terrifying Emperor Beast below that began to break through the ice, but there was a strange ripple in his heart. Being able to continuously evolve and quickly evolve corresponding abilities, it is simply a bit scary to exist like this. If you give it enough time, you don't know where it will evolve. By then, I'm afraid it might be possible to enter the divine realm. No, according to the information currently available, before the 10,000 years catastrophe comes, the path to becoming a god in this world is cut off, the upper limit of all living beings is locked, and it is absolutely impossible for a god-level existence to be born. The highest limit of the terrifying Emperor Beast in front of me is rank 8. It's far from unsolvable. However, who from outside the territory sent this terrifying Emperor Beast in, and what was its purpose? In addition to this terrifying Emperor Beast, are there other? While his mind was spinning, the smile on the face of Beiyuan next to him suddenly disappeared and became completely cold. She never expected that the slap in the face would come so quickly. 1 second he was talking about his power, and the next second that damn fool was resurrected. I haven't used my full strength for a long time. A cold smile flashed across Beiyuan's noble and cold face, as if she was irritated. Although the cultivation level of the fused host is too different from that of her body, it is difficult for her to exert her full power. However, a brief burst of full strength should be possible. Time freeze. Boom. In an instant, a terrifying ice storm swept across the entire southern Xinjiang. The sky also turned into icy blue. Click, click. At this moment, even space and time began to be completely frozen by the extreme cold. All life in southern Xinjiang has come to a complete standstill. Even the terrifying Emperor Beast that was breaking through the ice was completely stiff at this moment, and the aura of the most powerful person on his body gradually solidified. Under the continuous invasion of the power of extreme cold, the vitality in the body of this terrifying Emperor Beast was devoured, frozen, solidified, and shattered. In the face of this overbearing and terrifying chill, even the power of evolution in its body was completely crushed. Facing the Emperor Gu, that became completely serious and exploded with all its strength, this terrifying Emperor Beast that had just entered the realm of supreme power had almost no power to fight back. Is this the true strength of Emperor Gu? It is really terrifying. Even among the strongest, it is the top existence. With time and space completely frozen, no wonder the female queen of the Gu tribe was able to unify the entire southern border and establish herself as king. Before I really entered the Emperor realm, or without using powerful cards such as the Magic Stone, I really didn't have much confidence in returning to my heyday. At this moment, even Chen Beiyuan was affected by the power of extreme cold, and his entire body was frozen and unable to move. However, Since the soul is protected by the mysterious war spirit, Abyss, the soul is not frozen, and the mind can still function. Judging from the current situation, Emperor Gu is obviously really angry. This terrifying imperial beast that came from outside the territory may not be able to escape. Master, don't kill this giant beast of the void yet. It is of great use to the temple of the void. Cough, cough, cough. At this moment, a slightly weak voice of Sister Yu suddenly appeared from the void and reached Chen Beiyuan's ears. Surprisingly, it was the void weapon spirit Huang Fei, whom she had not seen for a long time. However, judging from the violent coughing and the weak tone of her voice, it seems that her situation is not good. Chen Beiyuan's mind was shaken, and the Swanee heart, in his body that was integrated with his heart, suddenly burst out with a terrifying warmth comparable to that of the strongest, pouring into his frozen and stiff body, and immediately moved towards Beiyuan beside him. Without hesitation, he shouted, "Wait, let it breathe."
Thank you for watching. I hope you enjoyed today's episode. If you did, please like, share, and subscribe.